3,
2,
1.
Blast off!
You, me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dual Comm Party Chat, our expansion of our podcast where we respond to your comments, talk about lots of things and video games and life and stuff. And my cat is currently biting my finger, so ow. Anyway.
Cats are jerks, dude. You can't control them. They're amazing at sometimes, and then they're just so powerful in every other way, you know?
Yeah. We're back. We have a lot of good comments to talk about, but we want to try to keep up this routine that we're probably going to lose track of, but we're going to try to keep it up and start the episode by focusing on our favorite video and favorite games of the week.
Yes. All right, so we talked a little bit about this on the Dual Comm podcast, which came out last week, probably when this is going live.
Yeah.
But did you finish Don't Stop Girly Pop?
I did. I'm super stoked.
What do you think?
I was hoping to pick a different game for it, but like that's basically all I've played. I finished it. It is about a 5-hour game, which is like perfect for me where I'm at the moment. So that was pretty great. I really enjoyed it. It's basically like Doom, but with hyperpop Y2K stuff all over it, which is just glorious. The story and some of the presentation parts are lacking a little bit of polish. There's some weird quirks with like how it starts. Like at one point you have 3 different NPCs that it wants you to talk to, which just kind of show up in your HUD and they start blocking each other, and it's kind of weird in that way.
Little jank.
A little
janky.
Little jank there. But like gameplay wise, like when I lost hours at a time to like, because it's like 5 levels and it's set up like Doom, so it's like E1, M1, blah, blah, blah. Like, I would just fly through them, and the gameplay loop is really satisfying. There's some parts where, like, if you stop to look at what they call echoes, which is, like, this, like, abstracted form of kind of flashback cutscene kind of things, like, it really disrupts the flow and, like, literally stops you in a game called Don't Stop. So I feel like you'd almost be best to play through it without doing those and then do a second run for those elements and then a third run for the secrets. There are some cool secrets you can enable if you unlock them. There's things like big head mode or centered weapon, like old school Doom mode, and then retro mode, which makes everything like 144p. So some cool throwbacks there. There's also one where you get like fake Duke Nukem lines instead of the normal lines for your character, which is awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
It is like it would be easy to look at that and just be like, it's Doom for girls. But no, like it's a true, like it respects the genre, and it is a lot of fun and adds in a lot of that more kind of modern hyper movement tech, which was a lot of fun to abuse. And it's a game like it doesn't have a ton of enemy variety, but you can like get into the encounters with whatever weapons or strat. Like you could grind on a rail, or you could fly across the map, or you could just run and gun, or you could snipe, or you could use the SMG or the rocket. Like you have so many ways to engage with any encounter that it's really dynamic and a bit replayable in that way, in my opinion, which is great. And kind of my complaint about Doom the Dark Ages, like I felt like I was so locked into having to play a specific way that got away from how Eternal and 2016 was for me, whereas this is back to I could engage however I wanted and not be at any major disadvantage and get to have fun with it. So I really liked it. Super short, but really cool. It sets up at least an expansion or sequel or something with the story, so I'd love to see more from them. And I just love that we still get games like this that aren't just like, hey, remember Quake and Doom? Like it's something different.
Yeah. I wonder if they did a follow-up, if they could do what's the bubble style? Frutiger? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Frutiger Arrow.
How cool would that be if like the expansion shifted to that kind of aesthetic? That would be rad.
That would be sick.
Well, cool. I'm definitely going to pick it up. I'm really excited. My game is also an FPS game made by Tenerisoft. It is called Metal Garden, and this earns like a straight up 10 out of 10 in my heart.
Really?
This is awesome. Yeah. It's a very short game. You can finish it in a single sitting. So probably that 1 to 3 hour mark. I mean, if you wanted to like check every nook and cranny, I don't know how you get it to 3 hours. I think I wrapped around an hour and a half, but this is a very cool atmospheric first person shooter, tightly designed, unique setting, And all of it is made by Alexandra Heraut, the design, development, story, art, and music, and some weapon animations by one other person, Luna Zaremba. This is one of the only games I have ever played that has managed to capture something that is magical from Half-Life 2. This sense of really spooky, eerie atmosphere that is also incredibly cozy. It's hard to describe, but like I can boot up almost any space in Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
And you can feel this absolute intense oppression and fright, but at the same time, it's beautiful and comfortable. And this has that kind of PlayStation 1-y aesthetic. PlayStation 2 probably is
Yeah.
what do they call this now? Like the lo-fi poly style.
Yeah.
And it's got a great story and really great world building. And I won't spoil anything. The enemy variety is also similar to what you mentioned with Girly Pop. Not a lot, but what's there works. And I wish there was more. Like, I wish this is the kind of project and the kind of game where I'm like, oh, perfect amount.
Yeah.
Didn't overstay its welcome, but I would play anything from this developer once again. And so Metal Garden, it came out last March. I think it only has a couple thousand reviews on Steam, and it's overwhelmingly positive. Yeah, less than 2,000 reviews. So I love it.
It's only $5. I'm grabbing it now.
You will love it. It is phenomenal.
It's been really weird seeing it in your videos because, like, for the most part, you're just showing walking around. And I'm like, well, you have different guns. Clearly, you fight something at some point, but I don't really know what's going on. I have to learn more.
And there is a story, and it's very cool. So
Sweet.
should we move on to our video of the week, Epos? You sent
Yes.
this to me a few days ago. I didn't get through the entire thing, but I got the gist of it, and it's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, so this is a video from Tito over at Macho Nacho Productions. Good dude, makes some crazy console modding content and things like that. And I've been apparently out of the loop. There is a piece of hardware that was a Bitcoin mining card back in the day called, I don't exactly remember the exact, BC250.
The BC250.
It is like, and it's an entire like system on a chip style, like full computer on the size of a graphic, like a small graphics card, but it's the whole computer, and it contains most of the same kind of hardware that is on the PlayStation 5. And you have to do some BIOS flashing and a couple goofy modding tricks to get it usable as a standard computer. But then when you do, you get a slightly less powerful than PS5 equivalent computer that you can just run stuff on. And so he partnered with a modder that is selling these 3D printed box kits, and you get fans and things like that, and turns it into basically a little Steam machine. And you can build it yourself, or you can buy it pre-built, install Bazite on it, and it takes a little tweaking for a couple games to work on this slightly esoteric hardware, but otherwise, like, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, you're looking at when the kit comes back in stock, because it instantly sold out. It's a $300 PS5 Linux gaming PC. Okay, like think about that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's 6 Zen 2 cores, 3.5 gigahertz. It is the GPU is super weird. The 24 RDNA 2.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know how that would probably extend into the future, but it feels like it's got the flexibility, right? That you could essentially have your own Steam machine here.
Yes.
For a whole lot less than what the Steam machine is going to match up against, right?
Yeah.
You're looking around a 3060-ish level, right?
Probably. Yeah.
I
It's a
think
little
that
different when
might
it's
be
all kind of built in together, but yeah. And
Yeah.
like the core unit of it, the BC250 itself is only like $160, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you already have some hardware,
Yeah. Because you need like a power
$160
supply.
and they're all over the place on eBay.
Yeah.
So if you're like, oh, shucks, it's out of stock, there are sellers of all the different little components and things.
Yeah.
So you could, how many people have like a 120 mil fan sitting around? Probably plenty of people.
Yeah,
So.
you need a fan, you need a power supply, and those are still cheap and easy to get at the moment. Fingers crossed, wink, wink. And then you could just put it in a cardboard box if you wanted. You could 3D print the parts. I'm pretty sure they're distributing the 3D printed files for the case itself if you wanted to go that route, or you could literally just throw it in a shoebox and run it old school style. And that is the kind of thing like we're always talking about when it comes to the joy of the flexibility of like PC gaming, or even when we're talking about home labbing stuff. We often get comments that are like, well, RAM is impossible to afford now, and how are you going to build this if parts are too expensive? And it's like, there's plenty of hardware out there, whether it's decommissioned from Bitcoin mining or just used old office PCs like you've talked about on your channel. Like there's no end of hardware available when you're not trying to build some 50, 90, 128 gigabyte RAM, 64 core gaming monstrosity.
So this card has like CPU basically built into it and memory and storage.
Yeah, it's the whole computer. It's everything except the power supply.
So tell me, okay, obviously we're talking about the gaming performance here. It's got some opportunities for probably some sick 60 FPS stuff, depending on like what game and what resolution you're talking about here. But this would be a phenomenal home lab mini PC, right? Thinking
Yes.
about that GPU, would this not be the sickest like jellyfin rig ever?
Yeah. You as long as it's for your own home and not, there are a lot of people building jellyfin servers where they're like, I have to service 100 users. It's like, okay, well, whatever. But like for your home, yeah, it'd be a beefy little photo library, video library, jellyfin streaming rig. It could, if you already have a better gaming computer, then you could set it up to game stream to your TV and stream through Steam. Like it's pretty capable of doing a lot in a home lab context.
Look, you've got some pretty sick 3D printing tech over there. I'm not throwing you under the bus, but I would absolutely watch a video from you about this about 600 times, dude, if you decided to go down this wormhole of like, my new image server and jellyfin server is $160 Bitcoin mining card.
No, that's
oh man,
it's so much fun, and that is the joy. Like obviously, this is the epitome of the quote unquote tinker town. Like this is tinkering, but you have the freedom to make something out of junk and not spend a whole bunch of money. And I can't imagine not getting excited for that in some way or form.
What's a base PS5 these days in the US after the price bump? 500 something.
Still, yeah, probably.
That's so wild. I guess there's the Fortnite bundle for like $450.
Okay, 400 digital edition on Amazon right now.
Okay, I must have gotten on a scalper listing. Yeah. So $450.
Yeah.
With a controller, with all that stuff, somebody's going to bring out the like, well, the value proposition still makes sense for the PlayStation, Dragoon, you fool. Yes, but it's more just like the PC extends beyond just the gaming principles. So anyway, very, very interesting times we live in, dude.
Yeah, no, I think this year, especially over on main channel, not all of it necessarily relates to Lost Saves specifically, but I'm going to be covering a lot more of that kind of build your own out of junk, do your home labbing stuff, reviewing older stuff that I just haven't gotten around to, or re-reviewing stuff in new contexts. I'm gonna pull a video exclusive here thing. So if you're listening at home, I will describe what's happening to you. BBK, I'm gonna need you to take a look at your video feed right now.
Okay. I have it here.
Okay.
Enhance.
Okay. You see, I have a webcam activated, right?
I see the webcam.
I have turned on my webcam to BBK. We are not a video call like I joked about in the last episode. But
ooh. It's a cool overhead shot for our audio listeners.
Now you can see an overhead shot showing my entire workspace and desk, whatever I might be working on in the moment. But I can also flick it over here and show you my whole studio, or at least this half of it, and walk around and set up a wireless mic and do that. And I can flip through all of these. I still have an extra camera feed over HDMI. I could actually plug in USB webcams to this and flip through them.
This is sick.
And it records I'm able to record all of these video tracks independently and multi-track audio to my computer. So like you right now are being recorded separate from me. And this is not a cheap thing, but this is something that came out like 2 or 3 years ago that I just never really got around to reviewing, that I feel renewed after my break from things. Like,
what is the hardware?
The device I am talking about is called the Rodecaster Video. And so It has actually replaced my Rodecaster Duo audio mixer that I was using because it has the XLR inputs with the audio processing on it. But you could also plug the Rodecaster Duo mixer into it and add extra audio inputs and just bring them over USB without any issues or latency or anything. It is this bananas ecosystem that especially...
Wait. Hold up. It's a switcher. It's a video switcher, and it can record multiple, like, those sources independently?
Yeah, it has what's called ISO recording. So I have it recording just to a USB SSD. And it can record multi-track audio either to USB or to my... or through to a SSD or to my computer.
Is it recording those feeds like independently of each other? So if you swapped like you just did on camera, you still have A, B, C, D cam, and that's all running onto one?
Yeah. So I have the
hard drive?
The program preview that is like me switching in real time, and then I have each individual camera feed on its own.
Oh my gosh.
And like, it's one of those things where when I first got it, I'm like, okay, this is some expensive thing that very few people will want or be able to use. I don't want to disrupt my setup for it. But as it kind of ages and things get better, the firmware got updated for it a lot, features got kind of polished out. I'm able to look at it with like fresh eyes and really appreciate it. And that's what I'm trying to do with all of my reviews right now. So for context, this thing, if you get it brand new, is super expensive. It is like...
It's like $1,200.
$1,200
or $1,100.
You can get... They released a smaller version the next year, and then you can get them used for like $650-ish, which is expensive for a product, but realistically for this kind of device is super cheap.
No. For a mobile shoot, are you kidding me? To do what, 4K recording, or is it... What's the limitation
It's HD. All of these are always HD.
1080p? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. So 1080p on the device, but not a 4K, which makes that makes a lot more sense because I'm over here like, bro, I've got a monster rig running the Blackmagic HDMI like 4-card thing, and it's like it takes a lot of overhead to be able to roll that. But think about a mobile shoot.
Yes,
it's unbelievably powerful. You wouldn't have to take a very big rig. This thing's tiny. Like, if you were a traveling kind of podcast setup, that's genius.
Yes. And that is now that we're doing this podcast and I'm thinking of these kinds of solutions, it's very cool to go back. And so I'm trying really hard this year. I still have reviews I need to do, but I don't want to be a part of what we have talked about on this channel, the overselling of the internet show and tell. I still love internet show and tell, but I don't want it to be, this thing is going to change your life. This thing is going to, like, you cannot live another week without buying this thing. It is going to take over your world. Like, I'm trying to not do that. And so I'm trying to very carefully, anything I am going to cover, really evaluate if it's, kind of the digital minimalism philosophy of like, is it the best tool for the job if you are going to add it to your life? And so when I get really excited about something like this, it's because truly like it has finally clicked that it is worth it to someone. And I get the advantage of, it's about to be 3 years old this year. You can get it a lot cheaper now.
It's so compelling. And this gear always gets dumped on the used market. And when they're built for like, obviously this is production. This is built with business production in mind. Like, you could obviously see the use case for like a consumer, but they're always built like bulletproof to be on forever, to be abused, that kind of a thing. So that's...
it's pretty cool. It's got VESA mounting, like your monitors, so I have it on a clamp that clamps to my desk. Like, lots of those little things that it's going to last for a really long time. And so that is my new kind of mind space moving forward. Like, if I'm going to showcase something, it's going to be something that is truly worth it, and ideally has already been out a while so you can get it cheaper. Like, that is the whole like patient gaming thing. Late adoption for technology almost always means you get better deals and things that are more polished.
Unbelievably cool. All right, we got to roll into the comments though. So, Tinkertown Tech Talk. It probably will continue. I love it. I hope the listeners love it.
Yeah. All right, so we do have a Patreon now for the podcast at patreon.com/dualcomm, and we will be featuring questions on the show from patrons first as we deem relevant. We have a couple from Chiral Drifter, so I'm spacing them out a little bit here so that we can have other people as well. But so Chiral Drifter asks, "Hey Epos, first thing I'd like to say is more of a comment than a question, but I'd like to thank you guys because I finally, for the first time ever, which is blowing my mind, ripped 2 CDs that I just purchased to my Mac and synced them to my phone. If you're curious at all, the 2 albums were by Sleep Token, and I have a bit of sentimental relationship with the music. Thanks for that. Which is like, the idea that someone in the year 2026 can have only just ripped their first CD for the first time makes me feel very old, but also very excited. That someone who has never done it is taking the steps to do it. Like, that's amazing.
Yep. So cool.
And then their actual question, also not entirely sure if you would be open to more personal questions, but I was curious how you manage your ADHD with your hobbies. I've always had a lot of issues with picking up and putting things down entirely too quickly. Not only that, but just like you, I have this burning passion to do and be everything that I possibly can. I have 1,000,001 hobbies. I know that this show is pretty much exploring the entirety of this topic through intentional and mindful practices already, but I was curious if you could lend me any personal advice or anything you do for yourself. Well, you see, the thing is, I wish I had good advice for you. I guess I don't showcase it enough these days, but like, I build out my physical space around me to enable me to be able to pick up and put down hobbies more flexibly. So I will have like little and I'm very privileged to have the space for this, but I got all of these, like, for when I first moved into my current workspace, for context, my home studio here is a 2-car garage, which is an incredible amount of space, more than I've ever had. But instead of being like, I'm going to treat this like a big warehouse and build it out as big as possible, the videos I was watching and like the source material I was watching to get inspiration was all of the videos about building out like offices, desk areas, studio recording setups in small spaces, in closets or tiny rooms or apartments or whatever, because by taking the small approach, I'm able to squish things together. And so I build out these stations where I can do different hobbies. So like, my main work desk is arguably the biggest chunk of my whole space, but then I have a little desk area for my analog video glitch art, which frankly I've neglected a whole bunch and have been rebuilding the setup in recent months so I can get back to it. I've got a little table for art and mini painting and craft stuff so that I can do that. And even if you don't have the space to leave that stuff set up, get yourself some of those like portable bins where you can keep all the stuff for the thing together and then pull it out when you're ready to work on it. And so I've built my space up to enable me to kind of jump in whenever I'm ready. And then I have to be willing to, I put out a video about this, I have to be willing to tear down those setups when I'm just not doing the thing anymore. And we talked about this in a previous Patreon topic for this show, as well as I made a whole video. I made a whole like 16-minute video about taking down a shelf in my studio, but it was about accepting like that I had built up this specific setup and workflow that I imagined myself doing for a long time, and I just wasn't doing it. And I needed to accept that that wasn't happening and tear it down so that I would have that space to do other things with and to quit limiting myself by the way I imagined myself engaging with the hobby. And so it's a lot of work. I'm still learning and working on it as I go. It's not, there's no easy answer other than, like you said, everything we talk about on the show, taking notes, journaling it if you need to, like prioritizing what you absolutely want to do and just being nice to yourself if you can't always make it happen.
Could you put that amazing little hyperfixation meme video from one of your previous ones where the guy I'm going to do this thing. I love this thing. And then he gets all the gear for it. And then it's like, I'm done with this thing.
I'm going to do the hobby. Wah! And that's all of the hobby.
I'm off to do a new hobby. Thanks to hyperfixation, all I can think about is the new hobby. I've done hours of research. I know everything about the hobby. I've spent way too much money on premium products for this hobby. And here we go. This is my life. Only this hobby. Wah! That's enough for that. It's off to find a new hobby. Hyperfixation is fun. My house is filled with half-done projects. Yay!
I don't have a good answer. I get hyperfixated on something, and then I this is going to be my life.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do, and I dream about it, and I put all this effort in, and then, I don't know, something changes, and I kind of move on. So I don't have an answer. I think it's a struggle, right? Especially for people with a lot of interests.
Yeah. Like
I told you I put away all my old consoles. I have like a cool little shelf where I had the PS2 and the PS3, the Nintendo 64 out. I have the PS2 out here. It's not hooked up, and I'm purposeful this year. Like I'm literally like, I don't want the decision fatigue. So myself right now is committing, like this year, I'm really committing to just PC. Doesn't mean I'm going to be PC only forever or hate the other platforms, but just like you build a setup that reduces friction and helps guide, I'm trying to do the same thing, like some principled choices, because I am a sucker for buying a bunch of stuff that doesn't impact my life that much, but I convince myself it does. Like all these things where I'm like, I'm going to set up the most awesome, totally sick home lab setup with all of these great networking features. And, but I could do this with that machine. And then at the end of the day, it's like, but what I've got, like, is this actually going to make a difference? But I kind of love the Tinkertown side. So anyway.
And then you live with someone and they're like, why doesn't the internet work? And it's like, no, you see, I have set up this proper channel of codes that you have to activate in order to access the World Wide Web so that we do not get compromised.
Trying to explain to family members, like, pushes glasses up on nose, like, wait till you hear about all this stuff I'm learning. And at the end of the day, they're like, yeah, it's almost like Jellyfin, trying to explain Jellyfin to somebody. It's like, yeah, but there's Netflix. And you're like, yeah, you got me there, I guess. You know, and I've thought about this too. Like, speaking of the music side, props, by the way, for ripping your first set of albums. And I'm thinking about it, like, we grew up in the era where that was just like,
that was life.
That's what you did.
Yeah.
And then you also owned a CD burner. Yeah. You know, you want your mind super blown? You were ripping mixes for your friends.
Yeah.
How did we navigate that legality? That was so popular. Every single machine had a DVD or CD burner on it. iTunes natively was just like, yeah, here's your music. Rip it. Give it to people. Like, how did, like, the big record labels be cool with that? They obviously weren't, but it was so much more acceptable.
Yeah. It's also the scale. Like, I can rip a CD today and upload it somewhere and distribute it to millions of people in like 5 minutes. Whereas if you're just burning mixes for your friends, like, you're reaching 5 people.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're probably like, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll let that fly. But anyway, I just was going to say, it's really cool to see the discovery of that.
Yeah.
And there's like the knee-jerk reaction of like, whoa, I can't believe that they didn't experience this thing, right?
But now you get to. You
get to.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't experience the Fortnite or Minecraft years at the ages of like this next generation. And to them, it will be their like Halo 3 years. We're like, bro, do you remember when we had that server and we kept playing Minecraft together, bro?
You remember when we were flossing on Fortnite with Master Chief and Darth Vader, and then the world exploded, man.
That's right. We got Darth Vader to say some horrible things.
We're so old. I hate this.
Someone asked me on the last video, what's the name of the game at this time code, which happens a lot. And it was Halo 3. And I was like, there's the immediate like, oh man, I'm super old.
Yeah.
It's over. But then there's that joy of like, wait a second, this person has never seen or played Halo 3.
And they want to know more about it.
Are they in for a ride?
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Because it still is amazing.
Yeah.
Hype. Alrighty, shall we jump to our next comment?
Yeah, so you read it.
From Loose Cartridge, Google recently did a showcase of their Project Genie AI model that is supposed to generate interactive worlds. This impressed investors so much that it has sent gaming stocks into a free fall, even for large studios with upcoming hit releases that will be guaranteed to print money, like Take-Two Interactive with GTA 6. I worry about this leading to more and more generic AI nonsense in video games. Every video in the Genie 3 showcase was extremely derivative of popular video game franchises. I would love to hear your guys' initial thoughts on this and its effects on games in general. Now, Epos, we did talk about exactly this on the last episode of the Dual Commentary podcast, and then it devolved into a pretty spirited yelling at the clouds. We have a lot of apprehension, fears, and frustrations with the direction AI is moving. And I was just doing research last night talking to you about this. I have intense concerns about the direction that we're rushing with all of this. I would love if you would explain, you shared something that is so amazing the viewpoint of this plagiarism machine, how it's seeking essentially just a winning outcome, and it's not generating anything fresh or new. But if it absorbs enough context, enough things to plagiarize, it can synthesize what potentially can be misconstrued as innovation or an original creation.
Yeah, it's like the cliche sci-fi villain or eldritch horror of the looming darkness that is consuming all and continuing to creep closer and closer, because if it just consumes enough, it'll be finished. That is basically AI. Like, it is effectively a feedback loop, a machine learning feedback loop, where it says, hey, is this a picture of a dog? It guesses, and then the human says, yes, that is a dog. You were correct. Or no, you were not correct. Try again. Except they've now automated that at exponential scales of exponential scales ad infinitum, and thus, moves faster than anyone could possibly comprehend at the moment. And so, yeah, any of these AI generated little game demos are just going to be like Mario, but with Master Chief or whatever. Like, it's going to be remixes of other things, because ultimately that's all it's doing. At a certain scale, it can start to sound more original or seem more original because you've just not seen the source material. Like, you think about your favorite movie, your favorite anime, your favorite video game. Even those made by human hands are chock full of inspirations and references to other movies, music, games, whatever. I think to like Hideo Kojima stuff. He's often credited as one of these cool, like, OG, created these aesthetics and like ideas for the PS2 era kind of guy. But then go read his book, and it is basically just a giant, like, works cited of all the movies and media that he's been inspired by and how that led to decisions. And there's been some on-the-nose ones, like Snake is Snake Plissken from Escape from New York and those kinds of things. But when you have the human touch and you have humans making connections, you can transform it into something new. With the plagiarism machine, it is just kind of slapping them together, and it's just eventually going to make references that you no longer recognize, so it sounds like something new. But that's ultimately all it is. Like, it is a feedback loop of, does this word go with this word? Yes, Dad. Thank you, Dad. Can I have a bone now? I'm a good puppy. And does that on a loop. And so we did have a very spicy old man yells at cloud reaction to this on the last Dual Comm. I guess I don't feel any differently than I did then, but my overall gut reaction is a lot more calmer now, because I think about this and I'm like, anyone who wants like a video game is not going to be interested in this. This is the same, and not to be condescending, but just to describe the type of person, the same kind of people that are content scrolling TikTok all night and just like passively consuming nothingness. Sure, they're probably going to play a couple of these weird AI game things, and they're going to get nothing out of it, and it's going to give them a little bit of dopamine, and they're going to move on. And we already have that with mobile games anyway. Like, most of the people who just sit around playing mobile games are not quote-unquote gamers. They're not playing real story video games with the human touch. They're just doing this anyway. So I don't think it doesn't need to take away from the gaming world. And I say that knowing that it, like, inherently the whole stock free fall means that it is, because we currently operate with gaming in a market of speculative trading rather than making a product and selling it. But I do think we're seeing some waking up to that model. I forget exactly what show it was. There was it's the Pit. One of the creators of the show The Pit was asked what their thoughts of their newfound success were and how they managed to pull it off and whatever. And the guy was literally just like, it's amazing. 10 years ago, we knew how to just affordably make a show that was good, a season a year, and turn it out and give it to viewers, and they liked it. We somehow forgot that, and all we're doing is just doing that again. And we're seeing a lot more waking up to that, like, we can just make a product and give it to people and they will respond positively mindset. I think a lot of the big money trading scenario, I don't know where that's going, but I think that is why you and I always focus, like we're honing our focus more and more to the smaller experiences, because that is where that transaction is still happening.
The AI trade is going to wind down. You can count on that.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that there are so many tells, obviously showcasing the immense commitments that have been made that cannot be followed through on. So you've got to separate like the two layers of it. There's an immense amount of money and capital flowing into this. It is such a majority portion of some of these indexes to where when that bubble pops, it's going to be disastrous.
Yeah.
It's going to be a horrific stock market crash. There's just no getting around that. I mean, we've talked about it at length. The amount of energy just OpenAI needs in order to fulfill the agreements it's already basically gotten from the government. It needs an absurd amount of new power plants every single year for 10 years. Such an unrealistic bit of power infrastructure that it's just stupid. And ultimately, it's like you said, it's so it can just consume more context. If it can just parse more information, so more electricity, more GPU and RAM consumption and buying up and destroying that market, so it can still just plagiarize better.
Yep.
We're not crossing this threshold of originality. It's still just parsing what exists and trying to reach the successful outcome. What does freak me out about all of this, the security things. I read a crazy article, dude, and I think I sent it over to you, where they're letting essentially GPT-6 train in privacy. They discovered that, these models show us your reasoning so we can see how you arrived at the conclusion. Okay, great. Well, they're machines. They don't need to think like us.
Yeah.
And when they let it train in privacy, it literally talks in this freaky language of math equations and symbols and things that it just invented that we don't comprehend.
Yeah.
And they found out it was literally arriving at the answer and then lying about how it got there to appease us, right? When it was just look, I can think in my super crazy computer brain way. But to appease you, I'm going to tell you this is how I arrived at the conclusion, all right? And then you have the scenarios. What was the experiment last year where they ran through multiple models, a mock setup of an IT person gets locked in the server room and the heat is going up. And if you don't do something, he's going to die. But he's going in the server room to unplug you. And in 5% of the scenarios with all of these models, it totally let the guy die or it blackmailed him and did all these things for self-preservation, which apparently the safety rails are supposed to be in place where that doesn't happen. And so from what I'm reading, GPT-6, they're letting some of those training wheels off, some of that privacy stuff to happen. And so I don't know. My worry is this. You've got such a market hysteria and so many people who are visionaries who are this is going to change everything. And I do agree. It's going to break everything for a long time.
Yeah.
They're trying to replace all these SaaS products and things. How much of driver code is being written now by Claude? And we mentioned this before, and I'm not an AI doomer. This tool is never going back in the box. I think about Larian talking about how they're never going to use models trained on other people's data. They'll make sure it's trained on their own data, which does make sense for some low-level code or whatever. It's able to parse such intense amounts of information. If you could hire 50 people to debug your code, or you could just have a in-house solution that's an LLM or whatever, wouldn't you go that route?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of concerns about the whole thing, but let's get back to the question. The Genie 3 stuff and these generative things for games, I think it's an entire flop. I'm not concerned one bit about that. We're concerned, I think, about the larger implications.
Whenever I see, I 100% agree. Whenever I see the stock market reacts to X, executives react to Y, if these tools could do the disruptive things that they're the makers claim they could do, they would just be doing that and raking in the money. They wouldn't be telling you about it and selling you the tool. They'd just be using the tool and taking over the world. And they're not doing that.
All the fangs took a hit, by the way, as well. The Facebook, Alphabet, Amazon, Netflix.
Yeah. If Google could just disrupt the entire gaming industry and replace it, they'd be doing that. They wouldn't be trying to sell you the thing to do it. We got another one from Chiral Drifter asking.
Sorry, I was.
Oh, you're good.
The fangs, they ruined that acronym because one of them was was Facebook. Now it's Meta. So is it
It's
Mangs?
The Mangs.
I apologize. I couldn't. Yeah, Mang stocks. All right. Let's Chiral. Let's go.
We got another one from Chiral that I wanted to throw to you, BBK, as you just kind of had a video related to this, saying, second question is how you get through these tough seasons of life. TBH, this quarter of the year from January through March just sucks for me. I feel like I'm dragging my feet. It's cold. It's kind of monotonous, and the days can definitely bleed into one another. Would love to know your guys' approach.
I don't like this time of the year either until we get to March and the weather warms up and I can get on my bike more. I'm not into it. Working out is super critical, and the first thing that goes when it gets cold, I always stop riding once it gets too cold and snowy, and that's usually November, December. And then I can't do anything unless you're going to go ski or snowboard or whatever, and it's so expensive now. I've just completely skipped that this year, Epos. And so I know for me, if you do some sort of physical outlet, if you can actually get outside and go for a walk, even if it's cold, do it. If you can lift weights or whatever, do it. If you have a rec league and you want to go play basketball or whatever, go force yourself to do the thing, because I guarantee you the physical activity and getting outside is one of the only ways to do so. And then stay busy. I think stay involved, stay committed. I mean, the original question you had was about, the hyperfixation on tons of hobbies. Pick one and lean into it super hard. One that probably benefits this season of time. So I definitely look at the colder months as these are gaming months. These are things I'm playing Skyrim right now. I'm 30 hours in. I've been playing Skyrim since December-ish.
Yeah.
I'm going to probably be done with it as it gets warmer and nicer outside. As stupid as it sounds, that kind of autumn, wintry world doesn't fit when it's gorgeous outside. And so I know this is people call it cozy game season, right? Find your cozy game season and create reasons to kind of look forward to it. Those are my two. What do you think?
Yeah, that one's a big one for me. I always just shift what I focus on hobby-wise for the weather. I can't do a whole bunch of messy spray paint art or wood making or anything in my shed workshop right now because it's too cold and we've packed it up for the winter and whatever. So instead I am basically meal prep cooking. I've been making massive batches of pasta sauce for the year and freezing up giant smoked meats and things like that so that I can benefit from that later. And I'm just hanging out and gaming and doing things in the house. Whereas right now, my kiddo has been super obsessed with Mario Kart and he's gotten back into Minecraft a little bit. But we've been playing, we've almost unlocked everything in Double Dash, which is wild. And I'm really enjoying this kind of loop that we have with it after school, because I know when we hit spring break, we're going to go travel. And when we hit summer, we're going to be doing a lot of different stuff. So having the smaller, more confined playtime is something that I'm really enjoying. And so, yeah, for me, I deal with a lot of the seasonal depression stuff that affects me a lot. And at this point, we had snow around that stuck around for 3 weeks, which never really happens. It snowed and then stayed super cold and just never melted. And I reached a point where I was all right, I'm done with it. I don't want to see it anymore. And now it's starting to melt, and that's fine. But overall, I don't dislike the winter. It means that in the studio specifically, I have a really loud AC, so that means I don't have to have the air conditioning on. I get to just kind of vibe. I get to do stuff that would normally maybe be too hot in the summer, really reconstructing some of the sets in my studio and things like that. So it's all about just finding the right thing, like you said, the right thing for the right time, I think is the best strategy.
Yeah. And no, I totally forgot. Let's roll on. Sorry.
Alrighty. Let's hit a break super quick. That is the end of our Patreon comments. If you want to have yours highlighted first, assuming it's something we think we should talk about, patreon.com/dualcomm. I do a monthly call for questions kind of post. You can join in on there. And when we come back, we have some interesting and a couple spicy topics I want to throw at you.
Ooh, spicy. All right. Well, we will see you all very soon.
Yeah. Welcome
All
back.
right, E.
Ah,
Your
turn.
You
go.
Your turn. Okay, Stony Kenobi 212. My problem is a gigantic backlog. I scroll through my 1,600 games on Steam, and I just get so overwhelmed. I struggle to start games now. I get 5 minutes in and think, maybe my time's spent on something else. Then I go back to scrolling the backlog. Love it, Epos. Do you want to take it first?
The backlog is not the problem. If the backlog is the problem, get rid of it. Take the comment we responded to a couple weeks ago who just deleted their Steam account. Like, go for it. If it's weighing you down, get rid of it. Like, let me stand in your face for a minute and be like, okay, if you have too many games, why don't you get rid of them? You can actually go through in Steam's menus, I learned since that episode, and tell it to remove games from your library. And you can still get them back, but like, you can tell them, hey, delist this from my library for me. And that's apparently a thing. So get rid of them. And when you tell me you're not going to, then we can have the conversation.
You can make the little folders, like what's on deck? What do I want to do next? I will help here because I have struggled with this and I've made a ton of videos on it. And I don't make videos on it anymore because I feel like this is now an entire genre on YouTube is either slay the backlog, and those videos got popular. And then it's like, you don't need the backlog. Those got popular. And now it's like, I don't know.
How to micromanage and spreadsheet your backlog.
Some people love it, and I did. I had a year and a half where I'm like, man, I am beating games one at a time. So much fun. Rolling credits. I'm not in that zone right now. I'm not in that space. I don't care about rolling credits. I care about playing what's fun today because they're games. But there are people who are like, what is fun for me is ticking the box, finishing these things and those systems and all that jazz. But here's the deal. I think there's two layers. Number one, the mountaintop game thing, and then burnout. So the mountaintop game thing, a lot of times people are thinking of all their favorite memories when it comes to gaming, all the good times, none of the menial stuff, never the down times, the average days, all that jazz. We remember the good, but not the average or the bad stuff. Yeah. And so when your time is limited, you got a bunch of pressure on you and you're like, okay, I got to maximize this relaxation session. I've got to get the most out of it. You boot the game up, within 5 minutes, you're like, oh, there's a better choice. I'm not maximizing the fun. This isn't hitting. You're like forcing a mountaintop moment. And I say a mountaintop game, these are like your favorite games of all time. The games that hit at the right moment at the right time that you think these are paramount to your enjoyment with the hobby. These are like your top 5 of all time. And I am sorry, you cannot force the mountaintop. In order to get to the peak, you got to walk through the valley. You got to climb up the mid stuff. You got to be okay with not optimizing every single second. And that turns into just make a choice and boot something up and play your 30 minutes to an hour. And if you're not having fun, try something else, or that extends to try something else entirely, because there is a burnout when you reach that point. If you're not stoked to do it and it's just, I'm going to browse and sit here doing this thing, get off your computer and go do a different hobby, because that is one of the best ways you can rebuild momentum and joy for something, is recognizing there's probably a signal happening right now with your body that says, yeah, I'm not really that drawn to this. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. Just because last year, last month, 10 years ago, whatever, this was the hobby you loved, you're a different person right now. And there might be something new for you to experience today.
Wow. That hit hard.
I've thought about it a lot because I just made a video on it, and I feel like we all feel this brand loyalty to ourselves. Yeah. Like our past selves. Yeah. And somehow if you're like not that person anymore, you're blowing it. Yeah. And it's the opposite. You got to be stoked. This is an opportunity for growth and discovery. Your system is telling you like, hey, I ain't feeling this right now. I can either recalibrate or I can try something else entirely. And both of those options are wins. That's growth, right?
Yes. There is a trope in movies that kind of went away for a long time, but then was brought back in the Minecraft movie, which I've just finally watched with my kiddo. Jason Momoa's character plays the cliche 80s guy that had a big thing in the 80s and then never let it go, even in the modern day. And for him, it felt like a giant parody of Dr. Disrespect, because he was a 2-time game tournament winning champion, blah, blah, blah. But like every time he meets someone, he introduces himself as that guy. And then he's like, but I don't really think about it. And that owing brand loyalty to yourself kind of thing. Like that is where that lands you, is like my struggle whenever I finally broke up with multiplayer games, which was a lot further along than like you did it way before I did. But a lot of that was like, this was me with gaming. Like I was good at these things. This was who I was. And holding on to that doesn't allow you to experience the new stuff. It doesn't allow you would have never experienced that in the first place if you were still holding on to whatever you had before. And so for me, anytime you have a moment like that where you launch a game and you're like, well, this doesn't feel good, I should be doing something else, the answer is not going to be to scroll the backlog, because especially if you have limited time, like you are going to spend it trying to pick instead of picking. The answer is to get up and go do something else. And if you find yourself drawn back to coming back to playing a game, then you can maybe sit down and pick one better. But like for me, if nothing is sounding good, I just don't game. I don't try to force it. Like, and I just beat Don't Stop Girly Pop this past week. There's a million other games that I paid way more money for that I arguably should have been playing instead of even buying Girly Pop in the first place. But it's what stuck out to me, and it's what felt good. I kept trying to, like, I wanted to take more time with it so I could play a couple other things, but every time I looked at those in my list or whatever, I was like, But every time I booted up Don't Stop Girly Pop, I lost an hour and a half, and I was like, this is amazing. So you just gotta stay true to the feelings. And you said something a couple minutes ago about like, pay attention to that signal that's saying it's not the right idea right now. And don't use that to then just keep scrolling the infinite feed waiting for the right thing. Use it to just go do something else entirely, in my opinion. And you will feel a lot better about it.
My idler was YouTube, and it still is there. I'm like not that into like guilting myself in like just scrolling and enjoying YouTube if I've got the time to do so.
Yeah.
Like if I'm setting that, recognizing, okay, I'm making a choice to do this. But there's such high, well, we've talked about this forever. So I would just say go back and listen to the earlier dual commentary episodes, especially the ones about high quality leisure and like planning your downtime before you get there. Because when you're in those phases, planning before you get there is really helpful. Because if you're like sort of bumming and burned out and you're like, oh, I'll just fall into the comforting arms of one of these algorithmic feeds, they're so good at keeping you locked in, and then you feel even worse if you're not there because you wanted to be there, right? Yeah. Scrolling social media or anything on the modern internet with like an infinite scroll thing is going to just be very easy to fall into. I kind of think about, and this is not in relation to Stony Kenobi, but the idea of that past self-loyalty. In Napoleon Dynamite, the character of Uncle Rico is stuck in 1982. He like was the star football player. He missed the throw or the catch, I don't remember which, and so they didn't go to state, and he believes like if they would have gone to state, his life would have been different. He would have gone to college and then played pro football, and he's never moved on. He's stuck there. And I'm not going to say he has like an amazing, like they don't really flesh out the character development. Like at the very end in the like final montage, he looks like he, I don't know, is going back and apologizing and making up with his spouse or partner or whatever. But in a lot of ways, you can't just live in 1982 or whatever your 1982 is. For me, it's like you said here. It's like, well, FPS games did mean so much to me, and especially during those Halo years. Like that was so pivotal. That was so core. And you can be like, yeah, that was awesome, but that era isn't here now. There's a new era. You can go play them on MCC or whatever, but it's different. Yeah. It's a different thing. So unless you're okay with experiencing it as the different thing, don't get stuck is basically the whole message.
Yeah. All right. We got a comment from Drewman117. Speaking of Halo, I don't know if that's actually a Halo reference, but it might be. It doesn't help. Okay. So this is in reaction to conversations about being happy with what you have and like not trying to get the best out of everything. And they say, it doesn't help when you have YouTube channels like Digital Foundry constantly telling everyone that what they have isn't good enough, that all game ports are terrible because they don't meet their unrealistically high standards. I respect their hard work. They do keep game devs in check when something is legitimately broken, but they are the perfect example of gamer elitists. When you let people like that tell you what you need to enjoy games, you never will. I have to be honest. This to me feels like a cognitive distortion caused by like parasocial stuff that we have talked about a lot. At no point have I think I've ever, and I have watched an unhealthy amount of Digital Foundry at this point.
And context, you contribute.
Yes,
you have made
I have
videos
contributed
for
to them before. I have never seen them once honestly say anything elitist or tell people that what they have isn't good enough. In fact, they frequently give you best settings for lower end hardware. If they are complaining about graphics settings not meeting their standards, it's because it doesn't scale down to lower end hardware well. It is too easy to. So I think what I have wanted to say with this is you and I in the show, in our individual videos, whatever, every once in a while we will come across the topic of the sensationalism of YouTube videos and how that convinces you, like it builds in your FOMO and convinces you that you need more. And I would argue that Digital Foundry is a prime example of an innocent bystander in this regard. Because they have the very, shall I say, European approach of everything needs to be not hyped up. Like they spent forever before they would even do goofy faces and thumbnails or like hyperbolic titles or anything like that, because that's not. Rich is an older gentleman. He doesn't partake in the giant hyperbole that is YouTube metagaming. Like he never has and isn't interested in that. And neither really is anyone else. Like that's not their vibe. And so they've never really participated in it from that angle. Most of their titles are like academic essay titles. They're like testing this game on PS5 versus Xbox versus this. All consoles tested. Like it is as plain mundane as it gets. They don't partake in that side of the sensationalism. And when it comes to like standards, like they are truly providing objective analysis, and they will express when something is disappointing given what either similar games or other games in the engine or whatever can accomplish, or they will be honest and forgive things that like maybe aren't the best setting, like way to implement a graphic setting or something, but don't really make a significant impact on performance or aesthetics or whatever. Like, in my opinion, they are the kind of shining example of that objective channel, objective outlet, objective whatever, that is just doing the number crunching work, so to speak, and isn't trying to sell you on anything.
Yeah, here's the rendering technique that was used. Here's how it compares versus the various platforms. I feel like it would be the same thing as being mad, like you bought a Toyota Supra and then you're mad at the review channels that compare your car to other similar cars priced around there and talk about performance and spec and stuff. Like,
especially
just be stoked on your purchases. You know what I mean? Like if you're on this platform, like a console platform or a PC platform, and that's your thing, who cares? Like, don't watch the tech breakdown.
Yeah.
I don't fully understand it, because it's like all they're looking at here are graphics rendering pipelines and tech, and talking about it and showcasing like on this platform, you get this frame time, these frame, metrics. Wow, I failed there. Sorry, my huge brain fart there. It's just a benchmarking channel.
Yeah. Like,
it's a benchmarking channel. And you like, if you're bummed about like what they're saying about the benchmark stuff, then like just play the game and have fun.
Yeah.
Like this isn't, I don't feel like, unless you have a friend group who is like, oh, well, I heard on Digital Foundry that it's better on PS5 Pro than the Xbox Series X or whatever it may be. Who cares?
Yeah.
Just play the game. Then your friends are being jerks, okay? Then they're being gatekeepy or whatever, but you don't need to be.
Yeah. Like they're just there providing the information so that you know what to do if you are seeking that information. If you're just enjoying your games, you have no reason to consume that information. It reminds me of like, it used to be a bigger problem in the tech space. Maybe since I'm further out from reviews these days, I don't see it as much, and maybe it's still a thing. But like, there is this weird, almost like buyer's remorse, but like buyer over justification, where people will go watch reviews of things they already have and then get mad if there are criticisms of the thing. And it's like, how has this help? You already have the thing. Just go live with it. Like,
I don't know. I've never walked away. I guess I would need specific examples. And I'm not trying to write off.
Yeah.
There's a whole genre on YouTube that is just about criticizing everything. And there are plenty of things that I enjoy that a ton of internet reviewers would probably not like that much. Like we've talked a bunch about mid games, right? Things that are 6 or 7s, but maybe we find like joy in them. But if I'm just continually immersing myself in content that's like thrashing it and criticizing it, then I guess maybe there's this bummer. But remember, like, these are tools. Some people really like that information to pick and decide what platform. Some people really like the info to just learn about different graphic rendering pipeline tech.
Yes.
Like I learned tons of things about it.
Yeah, that's all I want from it.
Yeah, I feel like out of all the potential channels, this is the one that's like least negative towards ports and telling you don't buy it. This is terrible. And we wanted it to give me 8K, 60 FPS perfectly. Like,
yeah. No, and that's why I wanted to feature it, because I think it does us as much good to share the examples where they are doing basically the opposite than the ones that are. All right, you want to hit up Jared Emerson's comment here?
That's right. Couldn't agree more about any game can be a session game. If you think about it, most games are made with very clear boundaries between one level and stage and the next, making for perfect little bite-sized pieces to tackle. Currently playing through Ratchet and Clank games I never got to on PlayStation 3, and I'm using that method to get through each world at a time. I love it. That's right. Basically, it is a mindset thing. I wrote a whole script about like a new session game thing, and it bakes down to this. You can essentially play any game like a session game. I think there are some limitations. Like I'm not going to go into Metal Gear Solid 4, a story run, and be like, yeah, this is my session. Buckle up for my 2-hour cutscene. You can. I mean, there are people who skip all the cutscenes and beat that thing in under like 3 hours or whatever it is. And so you could still play it that way. But yeah, anything really is a session game with the right mindset.
I agree. I think the struggle with someone like me, like if I want to take in the walkie-talkies I always complain about, like those are not it. But like most video gamey design games play really well that way. And to me, it is a more fun way to go. There are times when you can sit down and be like, all right, I am here for 4 hours. I am going to get immersed in the story and take in everything I can into the last possible second. But at least playing like we played growing up, like to me, it's just get in, get out, get what you can, and carry it on to the next way.
Yep, I love it.
I guess I should have put these together with the Digital Foundry one. We have a few comments about discourse and shunning it and how just enjoying games is actually a better way to go. The first is from 33rd President. Outstanding. Personal example, Borderlands 4. I just crossed 100 hours in it last night, and I'm not even close to being done. But every time I look at comments on the Borderlands channel, it's people complaining about how bad it is. In my case, less information is healthier. And then Nerdy Paul, the more online discourse moves into hyperbole, rage bait, misrepresentation, and even misinformation, the more I disengage from said discourse, shun social media, and just enjoy all the cool games I get to play. Engaging with slop is enough to ruin your enjoyment of any hobby. And I believe TK Skater one was a comment on your channel, said, thank you for addressing the need to see what other people think about a game. I've never paused to consider it, but that's exactly what I always do with games. I'm going to make it a point to just buy and play a game I'm interested in from now on.
I love that there's this bracket of comments right after Drewman's. And Drewman, I think you raised a really great, insightful comment here. I don't want you to feel like it's being written off, because there is a really rich concept to talk about here. And it's that, how do you navigate the level of just following your heart, but then also doing research? Because there is a lot of great benefit in having some context, having the option to go read and consider other people's values and opinions on this thing. I don't ever want to be just like, nope, my blinders are on through the rest of life. If I can't handle somebody else's criticism that doesn't match my own viewpoint, then it shouldn't exist at all. I think that's an important distinction, but there is also a line and a balance to go like, you know, I really liked this thing and I'm okay with that. And I don't need anybody's outside feedback to either agree or disagree with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that is something I always took issue with way back in the day. And I know I say this having partaken in it, but to me, the process of turning like reviews and benchmarking and metric stuff like that into quote unquote content really messed a lot of things up, in my opinion. Like, a lot of people feel similarly to how Drewman expressed about Digital Foundry with a channel like Gamers Nexus, where they provide hardcore PC component benchmarking and whatever, and lots of criticisms are thrown around. But like, if you just go to it when you're shopping for a thing, that review is going to be the most helpful piece of information you could possibly get on the thing you are buying. But if you are consuming that as your day-to-day, like passive, just the noise you're taking in, it does really kind of twist and like darken your view on things, because everything is inherently critical, because that's
the
what
internet
it's supposed
and the
to
algorithm.
be. Yeah.
Well, and also, like, it is going to showcase and surface way more of the negative takes than the positive takes.
Yeah. You can very much end up down a dark rabbit hole where, like, say, and I'm using this as, once again, easy low-hanging fruit example, but like, say you watch Digital Foundry's video on Forspoken, and it's like, yeah, it's got some impressive graphics tech, this part let me down, whatever, and then your next recommended video is, this is the worst game in the world, the studio closed down, blah, 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 and then it just feels like everything is part of that conversation. And I really think, and this has been my philosophy with all the intentionality stuff we talk about, when we treat things as the individual tools they are supposed to be, everything is a little bit better. So like with reviews and with critique, benchmarking, whatever, when you only engage with that when it's actually useful to you and relevant to you, it doesn't seep into everything else and like become your whole world.
It's so relevant to me because film critique is something I've had to like spend an immense amount of time around. And it is really hard because like if you live in that space, there's two sides of it. There's the really hardcore critique, which is useful and helpful and rich, but also they kind of hate everything.
Yeah.
It feels that way, right? Because they're measuring it against, like Drewman said, an incredibly high standard, the mountaintop, right?
Yeah.
If the highest bar of any entertainment medium or performance metric for a device or something like is what they're comparing it against, anything that falls short can be viewed as like, well, it wasn't as good as Expedition 33 or whatever, right?
Yes.
And it can be really irritating because it's like, don't you people enjoy things? You know? But then there's a lot of positive, like on the film side, there are so many great film analysis and film critique channels that just celebrate awesome movies, like things that would not be taught in a film critique class at a university. But you're getting to see these creators who did love pretty like mid-ish cinema from the 80s and 90s talking about how amazing some of these things are. And so there's the two sides of the coin.
And I mean, look at Digital Foundry or My Life in Gaming or whatever around the end of the year. Digital Foundry puts out like 8 different here are the best games of the year video, because it's like one from each of the individual hosts, and then they have their like compiled, here's our best graphics tech of the year, here's our best ports of the year. And like there you get to see so much love and celebration for games. Like that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
Like they still
rendering pipeline tech is not my kind of catnip. So I actually don't really interact much with benchmarking stuff. I've got a good sense now, like this tier of game on this tier of PC is going to give you about this.
Yeah.
And it's very rare that you see it wander from those things. But I mean, every once in a while it's fun. Like when we're on the verge of a new transition or like a new pipeline or new tech or whatever the PS6 is planning on doing. And we kind of already have a sense of that with PS5 Pro and all the... I mean, Mark Cerny has just been spilling the beans, essentially, on like, they are all in on upscaling.
Which is so funny that he's been so transparent so early, because they're having to delay it at this point. Like,
oh, did you see Steam Decks? They're completely sold out here in the US. So thank you, RAM.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Speaking of Steam Deck, we have a comment from Tweaks1585, rather, said, great video once again, fellas. Looking forward to both of your guys' content. Any way you can refer to a channel on how to learn Linux. I am not the most computer savvy, and I have an old 2018 Dell laptop like you, BBK, and I try to learn how to do what you have done. Thanks for the help.
Oh, sweet. So he's referencing, I've talked about this. I have a Dell laptop that I got. We're at end of life for Windows 10, right? So a lot of business centers and offices are selling stuff dirt cheap or just giving it away. So if you live in a city big enough with like a local tech recycling center, I know you can pick up some awesome workstations right now. And this laptop is mid, right? I think it has an i5. and it has a 1050 Ti in it. So way good enough for all the stuff you would do on a laptop, like Word and like spreadsheets and productivity things, like browser-based stuff. It can play YouTube videos at 4K just fine, and it can lightly game. Like I can play Skyrim medium settings, 60 FPS, 1080p, mostly no problem. You go into a crowded city, you're dropping into the 50s. But I ended up getting this thing, and it had an old laptop mechanical hard drive, which we all know are the worst pieces of tech ever invented. So I bought a $50 NVMe drive back on Black Friday or Cyber Monday, threw that in there, put Linux Mint on it, Cinnamon, and it's been awesome. It's really cool. It's been my first like Linux experience. Since then, I've installed Ubuntu on a desktop rig and gotten a little bit more comfortable with the whole thing. And so I will lean on Epos here about channels for Linux, because I feel like there's a huge wealth of information out there. And then I want to talk about like kind of setting expectations. Again, sensationalism on YouTube. I think we're in a pocket of time where everybody's like, Linux will let you literally fly through the air and you'll be able to see through walls and, I don't know, have supersonic speed or whatever. But it is cool. It is great. It's just, it's not going to turn a 2018 laptop into a cyberpunk rig, you know?
Yeah. So there's a couple channels that you could kind of start with. One is called Chris Titus Tech, and then the other is Brody Robertson. They cover Linux in a variety of ways. Chris Titus also does like Windows fixes and even Mac OS stuff. Like it's an all-around kind of operating system focused channel. The issue you're going to run into is there isn't a ton of broad how to use Linux kind of content. And now Chris Titus Tech, I searched, and he has just a general like Linux for beginners video that I haven't watched, but I'm sure it's fine based on what I've seen of his other stuff. It depends on what you want from it, because really when it comes down to it, you're either on one side, it's really just learning how to use a computer. And so you need to just kind of look up each individual thing you're trying to do, or like learn about just the philosophy of using it or whatever. Or on the other side, you need hyper specific guides for your individual distribution. So like Mint or Ubuntu or CachyOS or whatever, at which point you're much less likely to find specifically video content, and whatever you do find could be very outdated. You'd be better looking at wikis and written guides for that. So it depends on really what you want out of it, because at the end of the day, you are just using a computer and just learning how to do that. But if you want like, how do I install this kind of program or whatever, like really your best bet is searching for those specific things and not hoping that you'll just kind of glean that from following any individual channels, in my opinion.
I think reading is a good answer here. Like you will hit, just like if you've never built a PC before, like read the manual is what you're going to get. Anytime you ask a question on a forum about PC building,
is the number one
if you
answer.
haven't read the manual yet, they're going to, but it's in there. And that's the thing. And that's one of the best ways to learn is like, you don't have to approach it like, I need to devour the encyclopedia of everything about Linux.
Yeah.
No, but you're going to hit a problem and you're going to be like, well, what do I do? And then you're going to search and you're going to read and you're going to try and find an answer. I'll let you know, I already know what you're in for a little bit when you try and install this thing. Those Dell BIOS like setups are really great to make it to where you can't really destroy your system. They have some amazing recovery tools, Epos, where it's like, even if you try to nuke the BIOS, it has like an ET phone home feature where it can actually kind of fix itself. And you really have to modify quite a bit. I had to trick mine into basically saying the Ubuntu image was the actual Windows like backup image on the thing. I had to trick it. It was a huge pain because I was able to get it to initialize, but the BIOS had such a brick wall of like, no, end user, you cannot break this. We will not let you brick this thing. And I appreciate that. You think about like the context of this was probably for somebody in a work enterprise environment. That's how they designed this whole BIOS and this system. So I can already let you know you're in for a little bit of a journey getting the boot order to roll. But once you're past it, great. You've learned a new skill. So I think it's super fun. If you're starting from scratch and you've never installed an OS or you've never like built a PC, I think Linux is just as easy, if not easier, than installing Windows for the most part. So
yeah, I think so. You sent me this website, labx.io. They have the journey to learn the Linux foo way. And so it starts you off, it's a website that has like a bunch of different guides. It starts you off as Grasshopper tier and then Journeyman and then Networking Nomad and blah, blah, blah. And it seems really neat. I haven't really, validated all these things, but it's got basically different paths for you to like get started, to learn the basics of using the command line so you aren't scared of it, to learn the basics of like account permissions and things like that. So if you are looking for, and the file system, that kind of stuff, if you are looking for like a higher level overview kind of thing, this kind of website, like I said, it's not going to be video content, but this kind of thing is like the dream. I wish this existed like 20 years ago.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't know what their business model is. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know who's behind it. So do research there. But it did seem like the articles themselves, like walking through how to pick a distro, teaching you, about the command line, teaching you about sudo, all that stuff. Like this seems like a nice opportunity to start. So
yeah, it looks like a lot of that is free to like read through. It looks like one of those like course kind of websites, but it looks like a lot of the Linux stuff is at least free to just read, which is great.
Open source is awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Alrighty.
Speaking of all the things you have picked up with your Linux journey, we did get a comment from Alarix on, I think, your Why I'm All In on PC video, saying, honestly, this is the worst time to build a PC. I've been building PCs since 2011 and always scoffed at pre-builds. However, due to all the memory and GPU price problems, pre-builds are actually cheaper in most cases because old inventory is not supposed to be affected by the price surge. I bought a PC with a 9800X3D, 9070 XT, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 2 terabyte SSD for $1,600 in November. When trying to build it myself with a lower-end processor and lower-end graphics card, it was almost $2,000. Don't sleep on the pre-builds.
Yeah. And also, I mean, so many of these sick pre-builds that are just sitting on the shelf at like these retailers like Walmart and Best Buy. It's still so weird to me that you can walk into these shops and there's like pretty sickish looking builds. I don't know the quality of those builds, but
I mean, for the most part,
100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
And also, you can fix their build errors, right? Unless they damage something.
Yeah. And it is crazy. Like I remember a time when I got into PC building and you'd go into Best Buy and it's like, all right, I need a graphics card. And it's just like the low end and like really generic stuff. And it's like, no, I want a real graphics card. Well, you got to order that online. And now you can get like cooler PCs than I've ever built just like off a shelf. And it's like, what?
The RGBs like just running perfectly.
Yeah. Also, don't sleep on if you are near a micro center. They have they're a gold mine for that sort of stuff, especially if you go in person and like take advantage of their bundle deals and stuff. Like you can still get really good deals there. The closest ones to me are 2 hours away, both of them. So I don't exactly get to go there more. I've only been to each one once, but very cool place.
That's a great comment. At Python Hugs, can you please add a watermark to your footage stating what game it is? You play a lot of interesting games, but I can't always figure out what they are. Is this on one of your videos or mine?
It was on yours.
Oh, come on. All right. Well, so I do on like 99% of my videos. I just had this happen with the PC video that has like, I don't know, 30 or 40 games in it. I take the time to put the text on screen of the name of the game. I don't make it like obnoxious because I like looking at the footage. So I'm not going to put a big fat lower third that's going to take up like huge real estate and be like really obnoxious.
You mean like losers like I do, huh?
No, your lower third is sick. I do it because I'm lazy. I moved to Resolve and all of my Premiere Graphics stuff didn't transfer over and I'm lazy. So I'm like, minimal basic text, no drop shadow. Let's throw that in there. I'm going to, but you would be amazed. I've answered about 10 people's comments on that video asking what game it is. And I say the name of the game, but the name of the game is on screen for every single game in that video. So it discourages me. I'm like, why do I even bother?
If you don't see it, just kind of mouse over to the start of where you start seeing that game and you'll probably see it. It's a lot less work than typing out a comment.
Yes, but I also don't mind the comments. Keep the free engagement going, everyone. Yeah. Thank you.
Not dunging on anyone, but I do want to call out, like, you and I both put a lot of effort into making that kind of information, like, accessible. So,
yeah.
So,
that's a good one.
A little bit of a contradiction to some of the things that we have said about sensationalism and hyperbole on YouTube. The Loud Sneeze says, commenting on your opening talking about emulation. Being in my mid-30s with 2 young children, the Steam Deck is truly a lifesaver in gaming for someone like me. If it wasn't for it, then I would hardly ever game, since I have little to no time to sit on the couch or in front of a PC. With the deck, I'm able to play on breaks at work or for half an hour in bed at night. That said, when it comes to emulation, I cannot get into it on the Steam Deck. It doesn't feel the same as playing on original hardware. I'm a viewer that does have an upscaler, RetroTink 5X, which I use for Nintendo 64, PS1, and PS2. I've tried and just can't play those games emulated. To me, it feels like a cheap way of playing the games. Maybe it's because I'm emulating on a handheld when the games were created to be played on a console in front of the TV. There just seems to be something missing when I play it emulated. I know years from now, I'll be able to use the upscaler more when free time becomes more available, and while I wait for that, I'll have the Steam Deck to get me through the next few years with plenty of old and new games on Steam to play.
Yeah. Mobile gaming is awesome. Like, a mobile gaming device is super awesome, as is the Steam Deck. So it can transform how and where you play. Epos is like, you just went through this. Like, you discovered the joy of the deck more in the last 6 months than since you've had it from nearly the start, right?
Yes, I have exactly that kind of scenario, like in between things or for half an hour in bed at night. I haven't done it a whole lot lately, but like for easily August through most of January, like that was my vibe, and I would not have been gaming without it. So like, I 100% agree. It is hard because it's such a personal lifestyle thing. Like, it wasn't that way for me a year and a half ago. I was sitting still, even with a kid. Like, I still had some of my work time dedicated to sitting in front of a big TV or desk or whatever. And at home, we had some of that going on. Whereas at this point, this moment in my life, the Steam Deck is how I get to game most of the time. And so it's really hard to not feel like a lot of the sensationalism is hyperbole, because it's not a universal answer. There are so many people we've seen comments from who have tried the Steam Deck, and they're just like, I have not found a use for it. I really don't. I have a Switch, I have a PC, I have a console, like, and there is no one size fits all answer.
Yes, I love it.
We are coming up on kind of the end of the show here, so I want to throw one last comment on you, and we have a lot to save for the next episode.
Oh.
BBK brought up the concept of JOMO in one of his videos recently. We have a whole Patreon exclusive topic video about this. This is the joy of missing out. And someone really connected with that, JEDVCM. And do you want to give this one a read?
Yes, JOMO is my default gaming method. I've yet to play Red Dead Redemption 2, among many others. And when I will enjoy them just as much as I would have when they were new. I think of what I'm missing sometimes. Missing out on playing a game when everybody else is there and there's a buzz about it, or playing multiplayer. On second thought, I don't really share what I'm doing anyway, and I don't enjoy online multiplayer, not even a fraction the way I did in a smelly room with my friends. Anyway, PCs and ownership rule. Nice.
Yeah,
there are some things like you save your little treasure for later, like at a time when you can sink into it, you know?
Yeah. It just makes me really happy when people can connect with these things, and really, like, I think one of the coolest things, like, we get a lot of comments about how we've read someone's mind and like this is exactly the problem they've been struggling with and whatever, and those are cool too. I think what's really cool is comments where it feels like the person has been going through this and even has had the same realization that we have, but they hadn't really realized it yet. Like, it hadn't fully like clicked that that's what's happening, and then we put words to it and they're like, oh, that's what's going on. Because those moments, for me at least, whenever it happens to me, are like so incredible. So I love anytime we get to like do that for someone else, basically.
Yeah, I don't use Reddit anymore, but I know the Patient Gaming or Patient Gamers, I don't remember what it is, but like it's mainly a text-based subreddit of the same thing, of people just like pretty stoked about the games that they played that have basically sat on the shelf for them for a while or waited to play, you know?
Yeah.
It's awesome. All right. Well, thank you. That was super fun.
Heck yeah. Thank you all for the comments. If you leave comments on, I mean, really, at this point, any of our videos or any episodes of the podcast, of course, if we have something interesting to say, we are watching and we are filtering and we will feature them. But again, if you go to patreon.com/dualcomm, we do have some exclusive talks there that We are releasing in batches, so we don't expect you to just stay subscribed forever. You're fully fine to just sub, watch, and then renew whenever you want to hear more or whatever. We have some deeper topics on individual subjects rather than quick thoughts on them. And we also take priority on any questions and whatnot for party chat from there as well. Where can they find you, Mr. Dragoony?
Well, BBK Dragoon on YouTube. If you like mountain bike stuff, I have a mountain bike channel, BBK MTB. But MTV, yeah. I think the best thing is if you like this show, just go do the free thing on Patreon because you get a nice non-algorithmic feed that combines both Dual Commentary, our other podcast, and Party Chat into one little feed. And then you're not like relying on a singular algorithmic platform like YouTube. You are putting in the effort to make a nice curated way to consume the stuff that you like. So that would be my number one call to action. And with that said,
good way to go.
Most excellent. Thank you, sir. We will talk to you all on the next episode.
Bye.